On nights when the world feels heaviest, when every bill on the table seems like a reminder of failure, some men break, but others rise. Daniel was just an ordinary father, stretched thin, clinging to hope for his little girl when fate tested him in the cruelest way. In the middle of the storm, he came face to face with two children shivering in the rain, children with eyes that carried secrets and sorrow deeper than their years. Taking them meant risking everything, his health, his freedom, even his own daughter's future. But what he didn't know was that this choice would spark a battle between love and power, between sacrifice and wealth, between a father's heart and a billionaire's claim. Do you believe that love, not money, defines family? If yes, like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the pile of envelopes that hadn't moved in weeks. Red letters screamed at me. Final notice. My stomach clenched. Daddy? My little girl's voice broke the silence. I blinked, forcing a smile as she patted him with her blanket wrapped around her shoulders. What's wrong, baby? Why are you staring at the table like that? She asked, tilting her head. I folded the bills and shoved them under an old magazine, just thinking about work. Are we still having pancakes tomorrow? Her voice was full of hope. I hated that I had to crush it. We'll see, sweetheart. Maybe oatmeal instead. She pouted. You always say that. I reached out and ruffled her hair. She deserves more than oatmeal, more than this tired apartment, more than me. When she went back to her room, I buried my face in my hands. Nights were the hardest. The apartment walls echoed with the kind of silence that used to be filled by my wife's laughter. She was gone, taken by illness too fast, leaving me to figure out fatherhood with empty pockets and a broken heart. I whispered into the dark. Am I enough for her? No answer ever came. Rain pounded the cracked windows at evening as I walked home from my night shift. My boots were soaked through, and every step reminded me how tired I was. I cut down the side street by the old bakery, now closed for hours. That's when I saw them. Two kids huddled under the bakery's awning, knees pulled to their chests. Their clothes were thin, damp, sticking to their small frames. My chest tightened. No one should be out here in this weather. I slowed. Hey, you two okay? They stiffened. The older one, maybe 10, pulled the younger closer. Big eyes stared at me, wide and guarded. I'm not going to hurt you, I said gently. Where's your mom or dad? Silence. Rain filled the gap between us. The younger one sniffled. The older whispered, barely audible, we don't got none. Those words punched me harder than any bill collector ever could. I thought of my daughter, asleep at home, warm under her blanket. If she were out here, would anyone stop? I rubbed my neck. Look, I don't got much, but you can't stay out here. It's freezing. The older shook his head quickly. We're fine. I crouched down so my eyes were level with theirs. You're not fine. You're soaked, hungry. I can see it. The younger one's stomach growled, betraying them. I sighed. What am I doing? I can't even take care of one kid without drowning. And here I am about to bring two more into the mess. But then the younger whispered, please don't leave us. Something cracked inside me. I saw my daughter's loneliness mirrored in their eyes. The same fear I'd seen in the mirror after my wife died. I nodded slowly. Okay, just for tonight. You can come with me. Get warm, eat something. The older hesitated, then finally stood, still clutching the younger's hand. Their trust was fragile like glass. Back at my apartment, I pushed the door open quietly, not wanting to wake my daughter. But she was already up, rubbing her eyes, her hair a wild mess. Daddy? Who are they? She asked, staring at the two shadows behind me. I cleared my throat. These kids, they didn't have anywhere to go, so they'll stay with us tonight. She blinked, then smiled in that way only children can. Hi, I'm Lily. The younger whispered, hi, before hiding behind the older's arm. Come on, Lily said, grabbing their hands. I'll show you where the blankets are. I watched her lead them to the couch like it was the most natural thing in the world. My chest ached. She didn't see the bills. She didn't feel the weight pressing on me every day. All she saw were two kids who needed a sister. I made sandwiches with the last of the bread and peanut butter. When I handed them over, they ate like they hadn't seen food in days. I tried not to stare, but the way they chewed carefully, politely, reminded me they weren't street kids. Something about them felt different. When they were finally asleep, curled together under old quilts, I sat at the table again. The bills were still there, waiting like predators. What have I done? I thought, I can barely keep my daughter fed. Now I've got 3 mouths to feed. This is insane. But when I glanced over and saw their small bodies rise and fall in steady breaths, I knew I couldn't regret it. I whispered into the quiet room, I'll figure it out, somehow. Because leaving them in the rain, that would have broken me forever. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the bills on the table, then those 2 kids curled up on my couch. My chest felt heavy, like I had just added more stones to a bag I was already dragging uphill. When morning came, I heard whispering. My daughter's giggles mixed with the soft voices of the 2 strangers. I walked into the kitchen. Morning, I said, rubbing my neck. Lily was already setting out bowls. Daddy, they were hungry, so I told her we could all eat together. The older child froze, looking at me like he was waiting for permission. The younger one clutched the blanket tightly. I forced a smile. Of course. Sit down. Breakfast is better with company. I poured the last of the cereal into 3 bowls, then stopped, realizing we didn't have enough for 4. My stomach nodded. Lily noticed. She slid her bowl forward. I'll share mine with them. I shook my head. Baby, you need your breakfast. She grinned. So do they. We can split it. It's fine, Daddy. My throat tightened. She has no idea how close we already live to the edge, and still, she gives without thinking twice. I added water to stretch the milk thinner. When I set the bowls down, the 2 children whispered, Thank you, sir. Just call me. Dad works for her, I said, nodding toward Lily. You can call me Mr. Daniel if you'd like. The older boy nodded. Yes, sir. They picked up their spoons carefully, sitting straight like they were at some fancy dinner table. Not like kids fighting over food. Every bite was small, neat. Lily leaned closer to them. You don't have to eat so slow. Nobody's going to take it away. The younger child smiled shyly. We just don't want to waste anything. Something in the way they said it made my chest ache. Kids should know what wasting food means. After breakfast, Lily dragged them to the living room. Want to see my drawings? Sure, the older boy said politely. I listened as she chattered, showing them papers full of crayon houses and stick figures. For the first time since I found them, the kids actually smiled. Still, as I leaned against the doorframe, doubt gnawed at me. What am I doing? I can't even afford cereal tomorrow. And now 2 more mouths? I rubbed my forehead. You can't keep this up, Daniel. You'll break. You'll drag them down with you. But when I looked at them, my daughter with her messy hair, sitting between those 2 strangers like she'd known them forever, my heart whispered a different truth. They need you. Daddy. Lily's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. Yeah. Can they stay a little longer? Please. Both orphans stared at me, their eyes big, cautious, full of hope they didn't dare speak out loud. I exhaled slowly. Just for now. We'll see what happens later. The younger one whispered, Thank you. I swallowed hard, turning away so they wouldn't see my face. I'm already in too deep. The rest of the morning passed with small moments that cut into me. When I offered them water, they both stood up like they'd been trained to wait for permission before touching anything. When I gave them extra bread, they split it evenly between themselves without a word, like it was routine. When Lily grabbed their hands and said, We're family now, the younger one's eyes filled with tears they tried to hide. Later, when they all sat drawing on the floor, I sat back at the table, staring at the thin stack of bills. My wallet sat next to them, nearly empty. How long can I stretch nothing into something? How long before kindness turns into cruelty because I can't feed them? My head throbbed. I whispered under my breath, God, what do I do? The sound of laughter filled the room, my daughter's laughter mixed with theirs. I looked up. For one fragile moment, the apartment didn't feel like a broken cage. It felt like a home, and that scared me even more. Because once you feel that, letting go becomes impossible. That afternoon, as the kids napped, I thought about the choices I had made. I should have called someone, maybe the police or child services. Instead, I was already treating them like mine. I stared at their sleeping faces and admitted the truth I didn't want to say out loud. I want to keep them safe, but I don't know how. The knock on the door later that week would force me to face that fear. The sound of knuckles on wood made my stomach drop. I had just sat down with a cup of weak coffee, staring at the bills again when the knock came. "Daddy, who is it?" Lily asked, peeking from the living room. "I don't know," I muttered, wiping my hands on my jeans. My chest tightened as I opened the door. A woman in a neat coat stood there, clipboard tucked under her arm. Her eyes swept past me into the apartment. "Mr. Daniel?" "Yeah," I said cautiously. "I'm Ms. Harper from Child Services. I heard you've taken in 2 children recently." My throat went dry. They had nowhere to go. It was raining. They're kids. I couldn't just leave them. Her pen scratched against the clipboard. "Do you have legal guardianship?" "No." "Do you have the financial means to provide for them?" I hesitated. "I'm working. I make enough to—" She cut me off with a look. "Your file shows unstable employment and overdue rent. This is not a suitable environment for 3 children. Behind me, Lily whispered to the orphans, "Don't be scared." I clenched my fists. "Listen, I may not have much, but these kids are safe here. Isn't that better than the street?" Her tone softened, but only slightly. "Mr. Daniel, foster care exists for situations like this. We'll arrange placement if necessary." My pulse hammered. Placement? That's just another word for tearing them away. When she left, the silence in the apartment was heavier than her clipboard. The older boy finally asked, voice trembling, "Are they going to take us again?" My chest twisted. "What do you mean again?" The younger one buried his face in his brother's side. The older whispered, "We've been moved around. People take us, then send us back. We never stay." I sat on the floor in front of them. "Look at me. You're not furniture to be moved around. You're kids. And as long as I breathe, no one's taking you away." The older one's eyes filled with tears he tried to hide. The younger whispered, "Promise?" "I promise," I said, my voice breaking. That night, when they were all asleep, I lay awake on the couch. What if I can't keep that promise? What if she comes back with papers and uniforms and takes them while I stand here helpless? I turned my face into the pillow. God, I can't lose them. Not after I saw the way they laughed with Lily today. Not after I felt how right it was having them here. But what do I have? A cracked ceiling, overdue rent, and a paycheck that barely buys groceries. The clock ticked loud, mocking me. "Daddy?" I sat up. Lily stood in the dark, holding her blanket. "Can't sleep?" I asked. She shook her head. "I heard what that lady said." I sighed. "You shouldn't worry about that." "But I do, where they take them." I looked at my daughter, so small, so stubbornly brave. "Then I'll fight. You hear me? I'll fight for them like I fight for you." Her lips trembled. "I don't want them to leave. They're my brother and sister now." I pulled her close. "I know, baby. I know." When she went back to bed, I sat alone in the shadows. She deserves stability. They all do. If love was enough, we'd be fine. But love doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't buy food. I need more than love. The words I had avoided all week finally settled like stones in my chest. I need a better job. The very next morning, I was out knocking on doors, filling out forms, begging for shifts anywhere that would take me. By the end of the week, I had 2, construction during the day, diner at night. "Daddy, are you sure?" Lily asked as I laced my boots for the first day. "I'm sure," I said, though my stomach twisted. "We need this. Don't worry about me." The older boy, who'd finally told me his name, Ethan, looked up from a table. "We can help, sir." "You already do," I said. He frowned. "No, I mean, really help. We're not useless." His sister, Emma, nodded firmly. "We can take care of things here." I smiled, hiding the ache in my chest. They've had to grow up too fast. Kids shouldn't be thinking about carrying weight like this. The construction site was rough. My hands blistered fast. My back screamed in the sun, but the paycheck was real. At night, the diner swallowed me whole, grease, clattering dishes, endless refills. I dragged myself home past midnight, clothes smelling of sweat and fries. The first night, Lily was still awake on the couch. "Daddy, you're limping," she whispered. "I'm fine," I lied, kissing her forehead. "Go to sleep." But when I collapsed into bed, my muscles burning, I thought, you can't break. You don't get that choice anymore. Days blurred together. Every time I came home, though, I noticed something new. The sink was empty. The floor was swept. Homework books were open on the table. Who did this? I asked one evening. Ethan shrugged. "We did. You work too much. It's only fair." I stared at him. "You're a kid. And you're one man trying to be four," he said quietly. The words hit me harder than any hammer at the site. One night, as I wolfed down leftovers, Emma sat beside me with Lily. "Daddy," Lily said. "Guess what?" "What?" I asked, mouthful. Emma helped me with my math. She's really smart. Emma flushed. "It wasn't hard." "You saved me from getting a big red X," Lily giggled. I swallowed. My chest warmed despite the exhaustion. "Thank you, Emma." She looked down but whispered, "I like helping." Slowly, it felt like we were becoming something more than a group of strays thrown together by the rain. A family. But my body didn't care about warm feelings. It wore down piece by piece. One night at the diner, I bent to pick up a tray, and a sharp pain shot through my side. I nearly blacked out. I brushed it off, forced myself through the shift, and staggered home past midnight. When I opened the door, the kids were still awake. "Daddy, you're pale," Lily said, eyes wide. "I'm fine," I muttered, dropping my bag. "You're not," Ethan said firmly. I waved him off, heading for the couch, but halfway there, my legs gave out. The room spun. "Daddy!" Lily screamed. Hands grabbed at me, small, desperate. Ethan on one side, Emma on the other. "Get up, sir, please." Ethan's voice cracked. Emma's tears fell on my sleeve. "Don't leave us. Please don't leave." I tried to speak, but my throat burned. My vision blurred. In that moment, the fear in their voices cut deeper than the pain in my body. They've already lost too much. I can't be another loss for them. I forced myself upright, gasping, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." But even as I said it, my body trembled with weakness. That night, after they finally helped me lie down, I stared at the ceiling, fighting the darkness tugging at me. "You're pushing too hard, Daniel. You can't carry the world on your back. But if you stop, they'll take the kids. If you break, they'll lose everything." Beside me, I heard Lily whisper Emma, "He always says he's fine, but he's not." Emma whispered back, "We'll take care of him. We can't let him fall." Their small voices pierced the silence like prayers. And as sleep dragged me under, one thought clung to me like a lifeline. If they're willing to fight for me, I have to fight harder for them. I woke up to the sound of beeping machines and the sharp sting of antiseptic in the air. My body felt heavy, like I was sinking into the hospital bed. "Daddy." Lily's small hand squeezed mine. "I'm here, baby." I croaked, forcing my eyes open. She sat beside me, eyes red from crying. Ethan and Emma stood close, stiff as statues. The nurse adjusted the four, then looked at the kids longer than necessary. Her eyes narrowed. These two, they look familiar. My heart thumped. "They're just kids I'm caring for," I said quickly. She didn't answer, just kept staring, then finally walked out. Ethan's hand tightened on Emma's shoulder. "We should go," he whispered. "You're not going anywhere," I said firmly. "You're safe with me." Emma's eyes shimmered. "You don't understand." I leaned forward despite the pain in my chest. "Then help me understand." They both fell silent. Later that evening, while I waited for discharge papers, a man in a sleek suit stepped into the room. His shoes clicked against the floor, his presence heavy. "You're Daniel?" he asked, glancing at me, then at the children. Yeah, I answered cautiously. He studied Ethan and Emma like he already knew them. Where'd you find these two? Why? I asked, my voice sharp. Because they're not who you think they are. Ethan's face drained of color. He grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her behind me. They're mine, I said without thinking, putting an arm in front of them. The man raised a brow. Yours? Mine to protect, I snapped. He smirked slightly, as if amused, then handed me a card. Call me when you're ready to tell the truth. He left without another word, leaving the kids trembling. Lily whispered, Daddy, I don't like him. Me neither, I muttered, staring at the card in my hand. My gut screamed that trouble had just found us. That night, back at home, I couldn't stop watching the kids. Every move, every careful word. They weren't just orphans off the street. I broke the silence. Who was that man? Why did you hide behind me like that? Ethan lowered his head. Because men like him, they always take us. Emma's lip quivered. Please don't let them take us back. Back where? I pressed gently. Neither answered. Lily crawled onto the couch and wrapped her arms around them. Don't worry. Daddy won't let anyone take you. Right, Daddy? Her trust was like a knife. I nodded slowly. That's right. As long as I'm breathing, you're not going anywhere. Ethan's voice shook. You don't know what you're promising. I leaned forward, looking him in the eye. I know enough. You're kids, and you're mine now. For the first time, his eyes softened. Just a flicker, but it was there. When the lights were off and everyone was finally asleep, I sat in the dark, my head pounding. Who are they? Why do strangers look at them like they belong to another world? Why do they act like they've been trained, polished, shaped for something more than this broken apartment? The rain began against the windows, hard and relentless. I looked at their small bodies huddled together on the couch and whispered into the storm, Whoever you are, whatever you're hiding, I'll protect you, even if it kills me. And deep down, I knew the storm wasn't just outside. It was coming straight for us. The rain hadn't stopped pounding against the window when I heard it. The low growl of an engine pulling up outside. My chest tightened. I pulled the curtain back just enough to see the headlights cut across the cracked pavement. A black car, sleek, out of place in this broken neighborhood. My gut told me it was him. Daddy, Lily's sleepy voice came from behind me. Who's here? I didn't answer. Instead, I moved the door as the car door opened. A tall man stepped out, umbrella in hand, his suit untouched by the storm. His steps were measured, powerful, like the ground itself made way for him. He stopped at the bottom of the stairs, lifted his eyes, and met mine. Daniel. His voice was steady, low. Then his gaze slid past me and locked on the children inside. Ethan gasped. Emma's hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled up instantly. The man's face cracked just slightly. His lips trembled before he steadied himself. My God, it's you. He dropped the umbrella, not caring as the rain soaked him. His arms opened, shaking. My children, you're alive. My stomach lurched. I turned back. Ethan and Emma were frozen, pressed against each other. Their tiny shoulders shook. Emma whispered, No, no, no. Ethan's eyes filled with panic. Don't let him take us. The man climbed the steps. They're mine, he said, his voice breaking now. My lost children. I stepped in front of them. Stop right there. He froze, drenched, staring at me like I was a thief. You don't understand. They belong to me. I swallowed hard. They belong where they feel safe. Lily rushed forward, clinging to my arm. Daddy, don't let him. Her tiny body shook against me. The man's chest rose and fell sharply. He looked at her, then at me. You don't know who I am. I can give them everything. Food, schools, a future. Money isn't a problem. You can't give them that. Not here. His words cut deep because they were true. My apartment walls peeled. My pockets were empty. My body was breaking. But behind me, I felt 3 sets of eyes. Trusting, scared, clinging to me like I was their whole world. I clenched my fists. Maybe I don't have much. but they're not things you can buy back. He stepped closer. They're not yours either. The word stabbed. I looked at Ethan, at Emma. Their eyes begged me silently. Don't let go. My throat tightened. Then why are they holding on to me, not you? The man flinched. For the first time, his mask cracked. His hand lifted as if to reach for them, but it trembled in the air. Because they don't remember, but they will. They're mine, flesh of my flesh. Emma cried out, "We don't want to go." She buried her face into Lily's shoulder. Ethan stood straighter, his voice trembling but firm. "You left us." The man staggered back as if struck. "No, I didn't. You were taken from me." His voice broke, raw grief bleeding through. For a moment, the storm outside felt quieter. His pain was real. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't just powerful, he was broken, and I was caught between him and them. What do I do? Am I saving them or stealing them? Am I protecting or standing in the way of a better life? I looked at Lily. Her fingers dug into my sleeve. "Please, Daddy, don't let them go." The man's voice softened. "Daniel, I'll give you anything. Money, a new home, security. Just don't keep them from me." I shook my head slowly, my chest tearing apart. This isn't a deal to be made. These are children, and they've already been broken enough. His jaw clenched. Rain streamed down his face, but I knew some of it wasn't rain. "Then what are you saying?" he asked hoarsely. I looked at Ethan, at Emma, at Lily. My heart screamed in both directions. Finally, I forced the words out. "I need time." The man stared at me, then nodded once, sharply. Time, but not long. He turned back toward the black car, his shoulders heavy, his presence still shaking the ground. The car drove off into the storm, leaving only silence behind. Inside, Ethan whispered, "What if he comes back?" I pulled them all close, my daughter, the two who weren't mine but somehow were, and whispered, "He will, and when he does, we'll face it together." Still, as the thunder rolled outside, I wondered if I had just delayed the storm or made it worse. After the black car disappeared into the storm, I couldn't breathe right. My chest felt tight, my mind spinning. The kids clung to me long after the headlights faded, like they feared the shadows themselves would drag them away. But the next morning, the man kept his word. He came back. Not in person this time. A thick envelope slid under my door. I picked it up, hand shaking. Inside, a stack of bills thicker than my rent ledger and a letter with neat handwriting. "This is just the beginning. Imagine what more I can give them. Safety, education, a future beyond these walls. Call me." I stared at the money, my palms sweating. Lily picked it up and tilted her head. "Daddy, what's this?" "Nothing you need to worry about," I muttered, stuffing it back. My voice cracked. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "It's from him, isn't it?" Emma pressed closer to my side. "We don't want it. We don't want him." But their voices trembled, and that made it worse. That night, after I tucked them in, I sat at the table, the envelope spread open in front of me. The bills looked like a promise and a curse at the same time. What if he's right? My thoughts stabbed me over and over. I can't give them much. My back is breaking just to put food on the table. What if I'm selfish? What if keeping them means ruining their future? The clock ticked louder than usual. Every breath felt heavy. I stood up, paced the tiny kitchen, ran a hand through my hair. The storm outside had cleared, but inside me it still raged. Then I heard it, soft, fragile, Emma's voice in her sleep. "Daddy, don't leave us." My knees buckled. I pressed my hand to my mouth, trying to stop the sob that ripped through me. My eyes blurred as I looked at their small bodies huddled together, safe in this broken apartment. Safe with me, not with money, not with strangers. With me. The next day, Lily caught me staring at the envelope again. She tilted her head, serious in a way no child should be. "Daddy, are you thinking about sending them away?" My throat went dry. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you look like you're saying goodbye without saying it." Her little hand slipped into mine. "Please don't. They're my brother and sister now." Emma peeked around the corner, tears already shining. "We heard you last night. she whispered. Ethan stood behind her, his chin trembling but his eyes hard. If you tell us to go, we'll run. We'll disappear before he takes us. Stop. I pushed the envelope aside and pulled all three of them in. Stop talking like that. Ethan's voice cracked. Then promise. I swallowed hard. I can't promise you a rich life. I can't promise big houses or fancy schools. But I can promise this. I won't let go of you. Not for money. Not for anything. Emma's arm shot around my neck. Lily hugged my waist. Even Ethan's walls crumbled as he pressed his forehead against my shoulder. And in that moment, I wasn't torn anymore. That night, I sat awake again, but the war in my chest was different. Not confusion. Not doubt. Just fear of what was coming. He won't give up. A man like that doesn't hear no. Still, when I looked at the kids sleeping, their faces calm for once, I knew the answer. They didn't need a CEO. They didn't need riches. They needed the man who held their hands when they were shaking in the rain. They needed me. The following evening, the black car returned, headlights cutting through the dusk. My stomach twisted, but this time I didn't shake. Daddy, Lily whispered, peeking through the curtain. I know, I said, steadying my voice. It's time. Emma clung to me. Ethan balled his fists. I pulled him close. Remember what I said. You're mine, and I'm not letting go. The knock came. Heavy, demanding. I stood, heart pounding, but no longer torn. This wasn't about choosing anymore. It was about standing my ground. When I opened the door, he was there, the man in the suit, rain dripping from his umbrella, his eyes sharper than the storm behind him. Daniel, he said, voice low but commanding. It's time we settled this. Ethan's breath caught. Emma whimpered. Lily's small fingers dug into my back. My legs wanted to give out, but my voice didn't. Come in. We sat at the rickety table, my world pressed against his. The envelope of money still sat there, unopened, a silent accusation. He glanced at it, then at the children clinging to me. You've done what you could, he said evenly. But they're mine. They belong to me. My throat tightened, but I forced the words out. No, they belong with whoever stayed when the world forgot them. They belong with the one who held them when they cried, who worked himself half to death so they could eat. They belong with me. His jaw tensed. I am their father. I slammed my hand against the table, making Emma jump. My voice shook, but grew stronger with every word. You may be their blood, but I am their father. Silence. The storm outside rumbled like it agreed. Emma pressed her face into my shirt. Ethan's hand gripped mine, trembling but unrelenting. Lily whispered, Tell him, Daddy. Don't stop. The man's gaze dropped to the children, their tears, their tiny arms wrapped around me. Something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, not pride. Something softer, almost broken. I searched for them, he whispered, almost to himself. When they were taken, I tore the world apart. But when months turned into years, I gave up. I buried myself in work. In anger, I failed them. His voice cracked. I failed my children. My breath caught. For the first time, I saw not a CEO, not a giant, but a man crushed by grief. He looked at me, his eyes glistening. And you became what I should have been. You carried them when I couldn't. The kids froze, listening. Even Ethan's glare softened just a fraction. He leaned forward. I won't take them from you. I see now they're safe here. But let me help. Let me give them what I can without stealing what you built. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard right. Help without taking them? He nodded slowly. A home that doesn't leak. Food that doesn't run out. Schools that open doors for their future. Quietly. No strings. You remain their father. I remain a shadow until they choose otherwise. Emma peeked up at me. Daddy, I brushed her hair back. It's okay, baby. I'm not letting anyone take you. Ethan's voice was wary. Why should we trust him? The man's answer was simple. Because you don't have to. Trust him. He pointed at me. The man who fought for you when no one else would. If he says yes, then it's yes. If he says no, I walk away. All eyes turned to me. My heart pounded so loud I could barely think. This is it. The choice. The moment everything changes. I looked at the man, then at the children who had become my whole world. I don't care about houses or schools, I said softly. But if you're serious, if this is real, then fine. Help us. Not for your pride. Not for appearances. For them. He nodded. His expression heavy with something I couldn't name. For them. The storm eased outside, the sound of rain fading into a soft drizzle. Emma slid into my lap, whispering, "So we stay?" "You stay," I said, holding her tight. "You'll always stay." Ethan's shoulders finally loosened. Lily grinned through her tears and hugged both of them, whispering, "See? Daddy kept his promise." The man stood, lingering by the door. For a moment, his powerful frame seemed smaller. "Take care of them, Daniel. Better than I ever did." "I already am," I said quietly. He gave one last nod, then stepped out into the night, swallowed by the soft glow of the streetlights. I sat there long after he left. The kids curled against me, their breaths steady at last. My body was weak, my pocket still nearly empty, but my heart felt unshakable. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was their father. And for the first time, I believed it with every bone in my body. The night the CEO left, I thought my chest would finally burst from the weight I had carried. But months passed and the world began to change, not all at once, not in miracles, but in steady, quiet steps, with the support tucked in the background, and with me grinding through every shift I could grab. We moved out of that crumbling apartment. The new house wasn't big, wasn't fancy. But when I opened the door that first morning, and sunlight poured across wooden floors that didn't creak, my heart felt lighter than it had in years. Lily spun in the middle of the living room. "Daddy, it doesn't smell like mold." Emma giggled, her little feet pattering against the floorboards. "And the ceiling doesn't leak." Ethan stood by the window. Tried to act cool, but I caught the tiny smile tugging at his lips. "Feels like home," he muttered. I laughed, the sound raw but real. "That's because it is." Our table grew too. I bought it secondhand, sanded it down until it was shown. Every night, I laid out 5 plates, not 3, not 4, 5. Always enough food now. The first night we sat there, Lily stared at the spread. "Daddy, is this all for us?" I grinned. "Every bite." Emma whispered, "I don't remember the last time I wasn't hungry." Ethan reached for her hand under the table. I saw it and my throat tightened. I put my fork down. "Listen to me. As long as I'm here, none of you will ever go hungry again. Not for food, not for love. You're mine. Always." Emma's eyes shone. Even if we're not really yours." I leaned forward, voice steady. "Blood didn't make me your father. Choice did. And I'd choose you again 1,000 times over." They didn't answer with words. They just dropped their forks, wrapped their little arms around me. And that was enough. At night, when the house was finally quiet, I sat in the hallway and just listened. The sound of their laughter echoing from their rooms during the day still lingered in the air. No silence of loneliness anymore. No cries muffled under blankets. I leaned my head back against the wall. This is what family is. Not perfect walls, not perfect wallets. Just imperfect people choosing each other again and again. One evening, I found Lily and Emma braiding each other's hair, while Ethan read aloud from one of the books we'd picked up from a yard sale. "Daddy," Lily called, "come sit with us." I sat down, the floor warm beneath me. Ethan smirked. "You're too old for story time." "Old, maybe," I said, ruffling his hair, "but not too old to listen." Emma giggled. "You're our biggest kid." They piled around me, the story forgotten, their voices tumbling over one another. Lily whispered into my shoulder, "I'm glad you found them, Daddy." Emma added, "We're glad you found us." Ethan didn't say anything for a long while, but then he murmured, almost too soft to hear, "Dad?" Just one word, but it was enough to break me. On weekends, I cooked pancakes, even when they came out uneven. Lily drizzled syrup until the plate was sticky. Emma laughed so hard, she spilled juice on the table. Ethan pretended to be annoyed but always ate the most. "Don't forget," I said, pointing my spatula at them, "the rule of this house." They answered together, voices overlapping. "No one eats alone." I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. That's right. Sometimes I thought about the man in the black car, about his grief, about the pieces of his children he would never get back. But I also thought about his promise to support, to help without taking. He kept his word. Bills got easier. Groceries stretched further. And yet, he never showed up at the door again. Maybe one day, when the kids were ready, they'd ask to know him. But for now, they knew their place was here, with me. One night, after everyone was asleep, I stood at the window, watching the quiet street. My reflection stared back at me, older, worn, but proud. I whispered into the glass, "I was afraid I wasn't enough. But I am. For them I am." Behind me, soft footsteps. Lily's tiny voice. "Daddy?" Talking to yourself again. I chuckled, turning. "Maybe. Why aren't you asleep?" She yawned, rubbing her eyes. "Because I needed to say thank you for being my dad, for being their dad." My chest ached in the best way. I lifted her into my arms. "No, sweetheart, thank you for reminding me why I fight every day." She smiled sleepily, her head resting on my shoulder. "We're a family now, forever." And as I carried her back to bed, I knew she was right. Not because of blood, not because of fate, but because we chose each other. And I would choose them again and again until my very last breath.